Making this video was inevitable. After the Apogee Top 10 games, of course I had to make another video about Epic MegaGames. Today better known for its storefront and Fortnite, Epic had its humble beginnings at the start of the 90s on MS-DOS. It was an iconic and influential game development company that left an indelible mark on the gaming industry. Founded in 1991 by Tim Sweeney, Epic MegaGames distinguished itself by creating innovative and graphically impressive titles and publishing games by other studios as shareware. Shareware was a very successful distribution practice during that era, where you could legally copy a limited version of a game and then acquire the full version for money if you liked what you played. Normally the limitations were only in scope and oftentimes quite generously offered a quite complete experience of the game. Now, to keep things retro and comparable to the Apogee video, I've limited the eligible games to those released on MS-DOS, so you won't find your Unreal or later games here. Here's the list of games I had a look at. I did play quite a few of them back then myself, but there were also a few completely new ones sprinkled in. And as a little disclaimer, these opinions are purely my own and I'm not pretending this is going to be an objective list in any way or form. Now, Ken's Labyrinth is one of those games I hadn't played before. I've heard of it, especially for its use of early 3D graphics, but never got it into my own hands. And I'm glad I did now. Yes, it's not nearly as refined as Castle Wolfenstein, for example, but you can still have some fun with it after you've figured out what you actually have to do. I can see my younger self enjoying this, so it's a well-deserved spot on this list. Now this could come as a surprise for you. It was definitely one for me. Zone 66 only on the 9th place. I do have some very fond memories of this game and I really liked the graphics, which were great and extremely smooth for the time, but playing it today it just didn't click with me. At first I thought the game was running too fast in DOSBox, but no, it's just a very hectic and chaotic game. Or am I just getting old? Either way, it is interesting to be able to fly in all directions, and there's some strategy involved in equipping your ship and deciding where to fly next, so if you're curious about that, go check it out. Now this is an early one, ZZT, released in 91, developed by the legendary Tim Sweeney. And this was originally not released by Epic MegaGames but by Potomac Computer Systems, but the later versions were, so I still think it counts for this list. The game doesn't look like much from the graphics and also from the gameplay. I mean, you're walking around with a smiley and shooting at some text symbols, trying to solve light puzzles and whatever, but what's really special about this game is the editor. At first that also doesn't look very special. You can place your monsters, you can draw the level barriers and terrain and all that stuff. But the really unique thing about this game is hidden a bit under the objects, that you can actually script yourself with ZZT's own scripting language. So it's possible to create quite different and creative games in ZZT, and that was something that I spent hours and weeks and months as a kid. It was actually one of those games that highly influenced me to become a game designer myself. I've not played Xargon when I was young, but it's a nice little game. You have jumping, you have shooting, and you have these colorful VGA graphics, which, while not being spectacular, are still looking quite good. The game shares the engine with another platformer that we will talk about later, and it also shares this one particular flaw, that the movement is not very fluid because it's kind of grid-based, which takes quite a lot of time to get used to and is not what you would expect from a modern platformer game, definitely, but after a while you will almost stop noticing it. The game has a good difficulty curve, so if you want to give it a try, why not? And yes, those scores I'm ranking in here in the video are definitely a bug, probably because DOSBox is running too fast. I didn't notice it until I was number 1 by far in the high score.
Mom, I want to play decent. We've got decent at home.
Okay, maybe that's not a fair comparison. Radix is a cool game and definitely has its own thing going for it. From its style and attitude, it actually reminds me more of Terminal Velocity, published by no others than 3D Realm, the company formerly known as Apogee. So it's just fitting that Epic MegaGames had their own hands in a 3D action combat game. You fly through narrow corridors and shoot all the enemies in sight, picking up power-ups and trying to get to the exit. Which is easier said than done, because you have complete 360 degrees of freedom, so you can aim in any direction, strafe in any direction and move in any direction, which takes a bit to get used to, but once you master it, it's really a lot of fun. Jill of the Jungle is an absolute classic, at least for me. I've played this game so much when I was younger, and only hearing the music and these weird sound effects instantly gives me this warm and cozy feeling inside. Is it the greatest platforming game in the world? No, but it has some very clever level design that I still enjoy today. There are some parts where you can transform into other creatures, you have different weapons at your disposal, so the game never really gets boring fast. You have the same issues with the jumping and the grid-based movement like in Xargon, but as I said, you can get over that. The graphics are a bit simpler, but I really like the unique enemy design and the world as a whole. So if I just want to waste half an hour, Jill of the Jungle is the perfect candidate. I have actually made a GameBoy version of Jill of the Jungle. You can download it in the description below and play it in the browser or on actual hardware. It's only 2 levels, but it lets you imagine how the game could have looked like if it had been released for the original Game Boy. If you're enjoying the video so far, why not give it a like and subscribe to the channel to never miss a retro gaming video in the future. Or check out my other videos if you are not convinced yet. As a kid, I often seen and heard those pinball machines, and I was always immediately drawn to them. But playing them was so expensive because I wasn't really good at them and I didn't have enough money to get good at them, so it was a real revelation when I got my hands on my first pinball video game that I could play without spending any more money. And that was the shareware version of Epic Pinball. It has the looks, it has the sounds, and it kind of has the physics, at least for the time when the game was released. I really love the design of the tables. They are edgy, they are over the top, but still quite readable, and there's always interesting stuff to do. The music is also great, getting your adrenaline running while you are hunting for a new high score. As you have seen, I also had Extreme Pinball as a candidate, but I felt those two games were a bit too similar and I opted for the one I know better and I had more nostalgia for. Now, before we get to our top 3, I have 2 honorable mentions. Number 1 is the Dare to Dream trilogy that was released for Windows 3.1, so it doesn't really qualify as a DOS game, but I feel it's similar enough to the other games to put it under the same umbrella. It's a point-and-click adventure which is right up my alley, but it's not a good one. It really comes down to mostly finding hotspots on the screen and the puzzles don't make any sense. The story is weird and, well, everything is weird about these games, and that's why I actually kind of like them. I don't know what's the target audience for this game, because sometimes it seems like it's a kids game, but then it's also very raunchy and definitely not suitable for children. I just wanted to mention it here because it's really a weird series of games. The other game is Solar Winds, which I never played as a kid. It seems quite cool, but maybe a bit simplistic, but I'm not so sure about it because it had a lot of story and depth and I feel I really have to spend more hours with it to give a final opinion. But if you like space exploration games, it might be something for you. Now we are getting to the heavy hitters. Jackrabbit is not only a good platformer, in my opinion it's one of the best, if not the best platformer for MS-DOS. It's fast, it's responsive, it looks nice, it's creative, and it's just so much fun to play. This game aged like good wine. When I was going back to it, I could not stop playing it. I've recorded much more material than I could ever show in this video. You have great level design with lots of secrets, you have a fair difficulty curve, lots of weapons and enemies, and a banging soundtrack. If this game had been ported to the video game consoles, I'm pretty sure it would have been a great hit. There actually is one game for the Game Boy Advance, but yikes, that has nothing to do with what we are playing here. If you like platforming games and you have not played this one yet, do yourself a favor and give it a try. While we are throwing around with superlatives, why not just say Tyrian is the best shoot 'em up for DOS? Yeah, that sounds about right. Few games are able to evoke this just one more level feeling, but Tyrian absolutely nails it. With its clever progression system where you can customize and upgrade your ship, and the fair but challenging difficulty curve, you just can't stop playing this thing. Just the immense variety of enemies, bosses, upgrades, weapons and whatnot is just astonishing. It looks and controls it part 2, so it very well deserves spot number 2. Tyrian 2000, which includes all the updates for the game, is completely free, available on GOG, so less blah blah, more pew pew. Now, who of you has never played One Must Fall 2097? And what is wrong with you? Now, fighting games were never my favorite genre, even though I played quite a few of them. The Street Fighters, the Tekkens, the Mortal Kombats, you can keep all of them, I just want my One Must Fall. Yes, compared to a few other contenders out there, it's quite simple, but that's actually what's great about it. The fun of the game doesn't come from mastering complex system, you have your 2 buttons and that's all. You kick, you punch, you do special moves, and it feels so amazing. The different robot designs are exceptional, both from their style and how they actually play. Having such drastically different playstyles is a miracle when you consider how simple the game is at its core. Oh, and the soundtrack, in my opinion, is one of the best that has ever been created. But that's not all, folks. On top of all the characters, the robots, the different arenas, you also get this great tournament mode, which was really something completely new at that time, when fighting games normally just were one combat after another. Here you have a great progression system that allows you to customize your robot and become stronger over time, without making you feel extraordinarily weak at the start. Earning a new robot becomes a great event, and climbing the ladder and defeating the secret challenges is really something. This is the perfect game to play against a friend, and you can even set a handicap if you're better at the game than he is. It's not only my favorite Epic game, it's one of my favorite games of all time. Now there you have it, my Epic MegaGames Top 10. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you back again soon. With that, see ya!
Round 2. Fight.